WNST.net. It was an interesting week in Atlanta, that's for sure. Bill Cole joining us now from Cole Roofing with all sorts of 100-year announcements. And, I'll say this, the NFL kicked off their 100th year with their little video and all the celebs, and I was there for the week. What a turd of a football game. Let's start with that. And the fact that New England won again kind of stinks, for everyone involved, not in Boston. But I think the other part of this was I was down in Atlanta all week, dude, and I have never been more underwhelmed by being around the Super Bowl. It was the worst of all the Super Bowls, and, I've been to 26.
No, that's interesting. The game certainly, I wonder how different it would have been if Brady doesn't throw the pick on the first pass. Like, I wonder if that affected him, and then he began to play safe. I mean, it wasn't even like people want to claim it was a defensive struggle, but it really wasn't even that. I mean, there was nobody was making plays, period. It was a snooze fest, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I remember the years when we were younger where there would be a blowout every year, and then we had some good games, and the Bills lose some close games that get blown out and all that stuff. But in recent years, there's at least been some energy around the game, and there's a beat Tom Brady thing. I don't know, dude. I spent a week on Radio Row. I couldn't find anyone who legitimately thought the Rams were going to win, honestly, that Jared Goff was going to beat Tom Brady playing in this sort of a game that Bill Belichick, with 2 weeks to prepare, wouldn't have something. It's almost a boring conversation, right? Like, I've gone to these Super Bowls where there's been interesting debates about Manning or legacy or Brady or Roethlisberger or coaches or Ray Lewis or Jerome Bettis. There's always a story. Boy, on the backside of this, there's no arguing what Belichick and Brady represent if you can get past the fact that they have been serial cheaters, right? So,
right.
I mean, if you can get past that fact, then you probably think it's okay. It's an interesting time for the league because I think the passion for the Super Bowl itself was a little sort of not worn well over the weekend, and apparently the TV ratings showed that. I was a part of it. I went to the game. I'm a little underwhelmed by all of it, Bill. It kind of stunk for the league, I think.
Yeah, I think I was excited to see the Rams in action, and it's like, wow, I don't even know how the Rams got there. They were not very exciting team. I don't even know how they move the ball against most teams.
That was not Kurt Warner's Rams. That resembled probably more Pat Hayden, Vince Ferragamo.
and no talk about Todd Gurley. I mean, I don't know what that's all about. I mean, he's one of the stars in the game, and it just was not even a thing. And if the Patriots, I mean, that might be part of the whole issue is that other than Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and I think every one of those stories has already been told. Who else are you talking about in that game? Like, yeah, okay, McVay's young and the quarterback, but there were no stars and there was no
Aaron Donald's a star, but he's a defensive tackle. You can only make it so sexy, I was going through the airport the other day in Atlanta. There, John Randall walked by. I said to my wife, "Hey, Hall of Famer John Randall." She says, "No one recognizes him." Like, because he played tackle. He wasn't a quarterback.
Well, football generally has that problem because they wear helmets anyway. So
Morton Anderson struggled from that. It took people a day and a half to figure out, that's Morton Anderson. And then you start to look at who's in the Hall of Fame. Oh, there's Kenny Easley. I don't know if you'd recognize Kenny Easley if you walk by. But, then there's Ed Reed. And I guess everybody would recognize Ed Reed, which was also another Baltimore part. We just lamented 2 weeks ago about Messina and the Hall of Fame and the Yankee-dom. And he's not an Oriole, and the Orioles are going to stink, and there's no energy for the Orioles. And we actually get another Raven Hall of Famer, and it's much like everything Ed Reed had to Ray Lewis. It wasn't the same as Ray Lewis in any way. Certainly, even I would say John Ogden, the Ray Lewis thing was different. But we got a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's a fascinating story, the Ed Reed story, that I had to go back into my book, and I wrote about him in Chapter 6 in Purple Rain 2, and I went back and relived it a little bit, and everything I described 6-7 years ago winds up being the truth about him, right? I mean, he is Scottie Pippen to the, to the great Jordan, right?
Yeah, and I don't know that people will ever fully understand or appreciate how good he really was, and we never get to replay any of that. You know what?
Well, we did this weekend a little bit, though, right? I mean, I saw the Billick piece where he's yelling at Ed up at the Meadowlands. Ed, no, go.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, if Ed wasn't with Ray, what does Ed's career look like? And is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
So if he gets drafted as an Arizona Cardinal, you wonder if he's Aeneas Williams or something, right?
And I mean, I'm a fan of Ed. I think I'm really grateful to have gotten to watch his career. I think he was a fun player to watch. I don't see anybody like him out there these days, so I think he's special, and I think he would be a Hall of Famer no matter where he went. But when you play defense the way we were playing defense, it kind of takes the pressure off the safety a little bit, and he just kind of runs around and has a really good time because he doesn't have to worry about the run anymore. They got that, you know, and there was plenty of guys along his time who took care of the run, and that freed Ed up to just go be a ball hawk, and that was fun, you know. I mean, that was Baltimore Raven defense.
I thought that was fascinating to see him down on the field, getting interviewed with the beard and the top hat and all the silver, all that wisdom coming in down underneath, and seeing Tom Brady out there still doing it. And really remembering what contemporaries they were. I mean, Brady came in before Reed, and Reed is now going into the Hall of Fame. And here's Brady playing at this position where, yes, we put a pink tutu on him from time to time, but still not just playing the game, dominating the game, still the best player in the game, still the best mind for the game. And oh, by the way, Tom Brady would say Ed Reed was the best player he ever played against, because if you go back to watch any of those films in which all the trouble the Ravens gave Tom Brady in all of those games, there's only been one game played since that the Ravens had played Tom Brady, and Ed Reed wasn't out there running around back in 14. If you remember, the 2-touchdown lead gone, Ed Reed wasn't on the field. Ray Lewis wasn't on the field anymore. And oh, by the way, Tom Brady found a way, like he did against the Falcons, like he almost did against the Eagles last year, 5 years ago now, to come back and beat the Ravens when the Ravens and Joe Flacco had pretty much gone up there and salted them again. But the Ed Reed thing, if you go back to any of those videos of Belichick and Tom Brady and football life, it's all about where is number 20. And Billy, I thought the coolest thing on Monday morning, I think I saw this coming out of Atlanta, someone had captured the wristband on Tom Brady's arm that said, always know where number 20 is. Always find 20. And literally, and I thought to myself, wow, that's about as high a praise, because I don't think Tom Brady had a thing on Sunday saying, I have to worry about Aaron Donald or whatever. Sure. It's more like if Ed Reed were out there flying around, Tom Brady would have to game plan a little differently.
Right. I walked away from the game thinking it sort of, makes football still interesting to watch. Like, these are the two teams that were standing at the end. Hey,
man, it was a 3-3 game, right? So, you can complain about the offense and whatever, but you have to give some praise to the defensive technicians here who shut things down and made it a 3-3 game. I mean, it could have gotten very interesting at the end, except like we saw the ending of the movie, and the movie ended that way, right? Brady leads a drive, the other kid comes down, he throws a sloppy pick, and we leave with 5 minutes left to go, and the game kind of stinks, right?
I did not feel like that was a defensive masterminded game between Belichick and Phillips. Like I felt it more like the offensive lines were not on their game, and there was no rhythm to the offense. Nobody, it wasn't until the end of the fourth quarter where Goff really just started flinging it around. I think they played scared, and I think the Patriots did what kind of they always do, and that's like, yeah, we'll just kind of do our thing, and you'll beat yourself, and we'll get a couple field goals and walk out of here. So I don't know. I mean, and maybe that's not a fair appreciation for what they were able to do and how difficult or how much they game plan for that. Maybe they did. I didn't feel that way from watching the game.
Bill Cole's here from Cole Roofing. He does solar. He does roofing. And, hey, dude, man, 65 degrees one day. It's going to snow again on the weekend. Here we are, winter. Tell me what you're doing 100 years into this thing at Cole Roofing, man.
Oh, well, the way the weather's been, it's like when it's nice out, we're working from sun up to sundown just to try and get some stuff done before the next cold spell and ice, snow, whatever.
Yeah, if you had to do my roof, I'm thinking Tuesday was the day, right?
Yeah, Tuesday. We did a lot on Tuesday. It's like, anytime you get 65 in February, it's a pretty big blessing. So, no, we just take care of any kind of commercial roof-related problems, everything from repairs and leaks and then new construction and schools and shopping centers, hospitals, any of that kind of stuff. Been doing it for 100 years, have some really compassionate, empathetic people that realize how big a problem roofing can be for people, and we just try and go out and do a great job every day, and we've been grateful and lucky and blessed and
well, you remember the day my mom's roof blew off and I sent you the picture and you're like, yeah, I've seen that before. So at least I had that going for me, that when the roof blew off, and if you have a corporate space and you got a leak, you got something going on, here's something you need fixed in April or May, at least I have a resource. I know a guy, as they say, Bill Cole, right?
Yeah, we get a lot of joy out of knowing a guy. So we spend a lot of time and believe a lot in karma about helping our clients, customers, friends, whoever, to know other people in our community that we can refer in that are trusted, that know how to do their job. So we do like to have a guy for things.
All right, look, man, you get around into the best and the worst parts of the city. And I'm always trying to put the best foot forward. I think you know this, that after the Super Bowl, I had said that I'm going to be making some movements and strides toward making Baltimore better, and living here and having my condo on the market sort of famously, and talking about these issues as I'm going to begin doing, because they're more important than the issues of how many games the Orioles are going to lose this year and in what fashion and capacity that's going to happen with some manager named Brandon Hyde, who seems like a lovely man that I do not have access to because I'm banned by the Orioles. But I spent the week in Atlanta, dude, and I was in downtown Atlanta. I landed, and look, I don't want to bag on Atlanta, but it's going to sound like I'm bagging on Atlanta because I go to all of these cities, and I am lamenting the problems in my own city with crime and just civic issues. I mean, things that would make life better in the city for everyone involved: jobs, prosperity, business owners, the people that you fix and service roofs for, the people who eat in my restaurants, and the listeners I have who take public transportation or drive into the city or whatever happens. But I will be getting to Baltimore's problems, and I know you and I talk about this privately. I'm going to start talking about it a lot more publicly here in the weeks and months and hopefully years to come. But I just spent a week in Atlanta, and I got to tell you, man, walking around, Atlanta's pretty dodgy. And I saw it as an outsider staying at two different hotels and two different sides of downtown. I stayed down in the belly of the beast the first 5 days at a hotel called the Glen, which had a rooftop, which we could go out and see, and the weather kind of stunk, and people kind of came in, and there was a Monday night event, and there was a rap concert with Ludacris on Thursday, and Aerosmith played on Friday, and Bruno Mars played on Saturday, and the city was mobbed with people and tourists and celebrities, and my wife looks up, and there's Maria Menounos, and I look to the left, and there's Thea Harris, and I'm just walking on the street, out on Peachtree, and I thought to myself, man, I've been to a million Super Bowls, and this one here is the weirdest one in a state where there are obvious political issues going on, in a city where they just took the baseball team and said, yeah, we don't want to play in the city anymore. We're going to move them out to Owings Mills, essentially, in Atlanta. And, I went by Turner Field 5 times on the way to Lee Steinberg's party, on the way to the airport, on the way into the city. And I've been going to Atlanta for 30 years, and man, I don't know what's going to save Atlanta, dude. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not a week with the Super Bowl and Arthur Blank charging $3 for French fried potatoes at the Dome there. I just found it to be a really weird place, man. That's all I'm going to say. There's my little soliloquy. I don't know what that means for Baltimore, but my wife and I had a lovely time at a jazz club on Friday night where you never would have known the Super Bowl was going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say that I've heard a lot of people necessarily not complain. Complain's the wrong word, but complain about Atlanta.
It looked a little lost, dude. I was staying in a downtown hotel that hadn't been renovated. It looked like they built these incredible hotels that are nowhere near the convention center or anything anybody would want to do. And, Gwinnett County, they are in major competition with the counties around them in a way that, like, sort of Atlanta's been sort of abandoned. It's weird,
Well, I mean, I think Atlanta typically ends up on a list of, like, the good cities. So I don't know what sort of marketing campaign they're running, but this requires the deep dive and the discussion about resources and whether they're positive or negative on what's going on in your city. And I've been having a lot of those same conversations that you're talking about Baltimore, and I think Baltimore has a lot of really good resources.
Oh, yeah.
That we are not doing a very good job of promoting.
Every time I take Light City's been an unbelievable thing. When we had the I want to call it the bicentennial celebration. That's what it was called officially, right? I live at the harbor. I have seen amazing things happen here. I went to the Super Bowl in Atlanta, and look, no bombs went off. Apparently, no one was shot. There was no rioting. There were cutting baby penis signs from protesters and Save Jesus, and just all this sort of bombast that is the Super Bowl, and nothing awful and tragic happened. But I'm telling you, as a guy that attended it, it was just really sort of a disfractured, weird event in a lot of ways, and it felt like a lot of people came to the park where the bombing happened 25 years ago, but it doesn't feel like there's like a whole lot of real industry, and there's like a basketball team plopped down in an arena in the middle of sort of a place like, I don't know what the point of going there. I don't know where the commerce is. Like when I go to Gillette Stadium, I get that there's a mall and a movie theater and a restaurant and a Victoria's Secret, and I get sort of what the concept is. I don't really know what they've done building this dome at the end of a MARTA stop. I mean, it's really weird, man. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe something's going to come in 15 years from now. I'll go down there and see the Stones when Mick Jagger's 85 years old, or probably make him about 90 at that point, I guess. But I don't know what the gig is. How about this, dude? Here's what I'm going to say. I don't know what happens the day after the Super Bowl leaves town. That was my thought about it. That really was my thought about it. And I guess that's my thought a quarter of a century later after the Olympics leave town. And you would tell me, hey, if you think Atlanta sucks, you ought to see Rio. You ought to see Greece, right? So, I mean, I've seen all of those stories, but it is sort of a weird little... I spent 9 days there, and I'm not being mean, and I love Southern cooking and all that. There is nothing that would make me want to go back or live there or move, you know what I mean? Like literally. And I'm not being mean because I've been going for 30 years. I just thought it was a weird thing. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think that, but this is not a city that just hosts the Super Bowl. I mean, the Final Four is usually there. There's, major college bowl games.
Dude, I was there 8 weeks ago and the tickets were $400 to get in for the SEC championship.
Right.
I mean, you talk about
like pretty good calendar.
I mean, Georgia was playing Alabama and it was down and on like Donkey Kong. I mean, the city was mobbed, but the city disappeared. It was mobbed like a Navy game mobs Baltimore when Navy plays Old Michigan or Maryland plays Old Ohio State or whatever happens. I live in a hotel. The people roll in Friday night around 6 o'clock, get a dinner, the game's over at 3 o'clock, and they're out like poop through a goose, and some of them stay in D.C. because they were afraid of Baltimore. So, I mean, I get all of that, and I got all of that in Atlanta where there were a lot of people that I never looked at because they landed, went to Buckhead, stayed somewhere for 2 days. I mean, I was kept waiting for the Rams fans to show up, and they never did. But the Patriots fans showed up, dude, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all Patriots fans. It was all, I don't want to be mean, low-end Patriots fans, the people who didn't go the last 8 times. It was like the beer drinking upper deck. It was a beautiful thing in a lot of ways, walking around the upper deck. And I had a guy come up to me, Bill, and I swear to God, when I took this lovely picture that you probably saw on LinkedIn of my wife and I, the only reason I took that lovely picture that's now my profile picture was because my wife and I stopped on the veranda early on, and a guy looked at me with tears in his eyes. He was a Patriot fan wearing a Tom Brady jersey. He's like, buddy, I'm going to start crying right now. You're going to have to, please don't bother. I'm going to start crying. This is a miracle I'm here. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you've had 9 chances. You're finally here. You're having your day. I had mine in New Orleans, right? So, I mean, to some degree, I didn't want to hate on all that. But Atlanta afforded a very affordable opportunity for Patriots fans to go to the 9th Super Bowl if they missed the last 8. And I'm just being honest.
Well, and that might have something to do with the energy, right? I mean,
oh my God, the stadium was electric, but nothing happened in the game. You know.
Well, you're right. The stadium may have been electric, but the whole week and the lead up and all that. I mean, you've got L.A., so nobody was coming. There isn't really anybody to come. Nothing, no shooting. Like that's a pretty low bar.
Do you know how many times a dog sniffed my crotch during the week? Like, I'm not kidding you. Do you know how many dogs I saw? Like, for beginning Sunday through the week, I bet I had a dog cross by me in my space 500 times. Like, I'm not kidding you. Yeah. 500 times I had a dog come near me in my vicinity sniffing for what I'm guessing wasn't marijuana, because I smelled that 1,000 times through the course of the week in downtown Atlanta. So it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's what it's become. It's become this sort of thing where, like, I always wished Baltimore would have a World Cup, and I still hope we get a game here. I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to get training here. I think someone's going to live at UMBC. The Brazilian national team's going to be here, something like that. The French team's going to be here, the Italian team. That's really going to happen, and that's cool because we're going to get a World Cup here. But beware what happens. I mean, my wife checked into the hotel on Thursday morning, and, like, literally the sun came up, and there was a big, giant corn syrup beer ad on the side of the building. And I looked up on the building, and there are 4 little shadows on the top of the building. And I looked next to them, and the 4 little shadows had machine guns. And I said to my wife, oh, it must be Super Bowl weekend. You get the note on your door saying you're not allowed to put "Do Not Disturb" on your door. We will be searching every room in the hotel. So, I mean,
there's remarkable, right? I mean,
so knowing that, me just like saying nothing bad happened, understanding how much Dutch Ruppersberger effort goes into making sure nothing happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in the difference between going to Tampa for the Super Bowl the first time and then going to New Orleans the second time.
Fair enough.
I mean, the first time we literally just kind of walked up to the entrance at Raymond James and just kind of rolled in and went to our seats, and it was like a regular football game. You go to New Orleans, and we had to walk through a parking garage and through it was the craziest.
By the way, right now I'm singing in my mind the Don Henley song, "The End of the Innocents." Remember when the days were all... I mean, that's over with. I mean, you want to come to the Super Bowl, you're going to go through 5 kiosks of this and that and rub downs and dogs, and in an effort to have you and me a couple days after the game get together and say, hey, how about that draft? Not, oh my God, what happened, right? So Bill Cole is here. He is Cole Roofing, and of course, keeping you safe and warm and dry all season. And I know you're doing some things in the solar space. We're going to be talking more about that. But I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you about the sort of the trip, the long, strange trip that was Atlanta Super Bowl 53, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Always fun to talk.
Cole Roofing, you can find them out on the web. Find me. I'll find Bill. We'll find each other. Bill joins me weekly. It is Cole Roofing. They've only been doing it 100 years. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. So many conversations from Super Bowl in Atlanta, and all of them can be found in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. Also on our Facebook Live, our YouTube. I reloaded some stuff. I know our sound clipped out at various points from Radio Row because the Wi-Fi in Atlanta, amongst many things, including the coffee, stunk. And I'm so glad to be back here in the land of pleasant living. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Fixing Baltimore one tweet at a time. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.